welcome to learning how to purl. Today we are going to expand your knitting repertoire by teaching you the second of the two basic stitches in knitting, which is the purl stitch. So we're going to get started just by giving you a little example of what a purl stitch is. So what you're seeing right here is a coaster that I knitted, and what I did is I cast on 25 stitches, and then I just, using the knit stitch, would knit all the way across and then knit all the way back, and I would just keep doing that until I had this coaster. So what happens when you knit every stitch on both sides is that on the reverse of where you're knitting, you get a purl stitch. And when you purl, you get a knitting stitch on the reverse. So when you're knitting, you are actually purling. So if you can see here, what you mostly see is these kind of arches across. Those are actually your purl stitches. And you can see this arch and this arch right here, that's one purl stitch. Now, if I stretch this out a bit, you can see between these arches right here and these arches right here, there's a flat stitch in there. That is a row of knitted stitches. So when I'm knitting this stitch across here on the back, I've made a purl stitch and vice versa. So how to purl. So I've got my example here. So what I've done is I've actually cast on 8 stitches, and the first 4 I have knitted. So these are knit stitches, and you can see that they're knit stitches by these little V's. These little V's, those are knit stitches. And then you get over here and you see these arches. Those arches mean it's a purl stitch. So, and if we flip this over, remember this side is knit, this side is purl. If I flip it over, this side is purl now, and this side is knit. So they're mirrors of each other, okay? So if we're going to knit, all we do is we start from the left side and we put our needle in. Then we take our working yarn, wrap it around that needle, and then pull through. And then that stitch on the left side, just knock that off. Okay, so now I've knitted my knit stitches. Now I've got my purl stitches. So the first key with purling is that instead of the yarn being in the back as it was for your knit stitches, you need to move it to the front. So all you do is literally bring it to the front. So you just bring it between the 2 needles to the front. That's all you have to do. So then what we do with the yarn in front, we're going to do very, very similar to the knit stitch, except instead of going in from the left side, we're going to go in from the right side. So just like before, you're going in through the loop. You're going to then take your working yarn and you're going to wrap, we're going to wrap that around the yarn, and then you're going to pull the needle back, and you can see I'm going to pull that yarn I just wrapped around through, and then that loop that's on the left needle, just push that right off. And that is an inch stitch. Now, if your next stitch was, I'm sorry, that is a purl stitch. If your next stitch was going to be a knit stitch, what you'd need to do is take that yarn, that working yarn, and move it to the back to do a knit stitch. But because our next stitch is going to be a purl stitch, we're going to leave that in front. So again, we're going to go in that first loop from the right side, just run that through there, wrap the yarn around, pull the needle back down, grabbing that yarn you just pushed through, and then push the loop off the left needle. There we go. We're going to do it again. So take your right needle through the right side of the loop, take your working yarn, which is in the front, wrap it around that needle, and holding this yarn is key. You're going to get to work on your tension more and more the longer that you knit, but you want to hold this fairly firmly so that it doesn't just fall apart when you pull your needle back. But so we're going to pull this needle back, grab the yarn that you had put through, and then push that loop off the left needle. One more time, put the needle through the right side of the loop, wrap around, pull the needle back, and this is the last one, so you just basically get rid of your loop. So you're gonna have what looks kind of at the end of rows, it kind of looks a little big. Don't worry about that, it's fine. It'll get fixed when you go knit your next row. So you can see what we've just created. We just made this row right here, and they're all these arches as opposed to the V's from the knitting. So that's the big difference. Why would you use a purl stitch? Well, here is a pretty good reason why. This is if you were to knit something and say you wanted it to have like a rolled brim, if you're making a hat, if you used your knit and your purl stitches every other row, you'd knit one and then you would purl, knit, and so on, you would end up with a piece like this that is called a stockinette knit. And it actually, you can see, rolls. So you can get a rolled edge to a garment, a scarf, a hat. If you don't like that, you can alternate your stitches a little differently. This is a ribbed stitch. And what you do here is when you knit 2, then you purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, and you repeat. Now you have to remember before each stitch that you have to change where your yarn is. So if you've knit 2, you move the working yarn to the front before you purl. Then after you purl, before you start the knit stitches, you need to move the working yarn back to the back of the needle and repeat that all the way across. The nice thing about a rib stitch like this is that it is very stretchy. This makes it ideal for hat brims, so that they don't roll up and so that you can make something that will fit for years to come. I make a lot of hats for children, and I found that this makes the hats last a lot longer. So one example I have is this hat. So you can see, even though it's dark, these are all knit stitches. So this, even though there's a lot of color in here, they're all knit stitches. Whereas I get down to this brim and you can see that there's knit stitches here. Like you've got these V's right here, but then you've got the arches in here as well. So this is actually a knit 2, purl 2, and it's repeated so that this brim lies flat and then also is very stretchy. So it fits a variety of heads. Another reason to use purls is if you're making gloves, you can also knit 2, purl 2 here, and it'll make these gloves lie flat at either ends, which is really nice. You can also get very creative with your knit and purl stitches. This is a super squishy knit, and you can see that there's just one lone knit stitch in the middle of all of this. One little knit stitch. Well, I mean, it's, like 6 rows, but one knit stitch followed by a bunch of purls. These are also purl stitches. And all together, this has made a pattern using all of these. The nice thing is I can actually turn this inside out and you have the exact opposite pattern on here. So on this side, it looks like I have a whole bunch of knits stitches, tons of knit stitches throughout here, interspersed by just a little bit of purl stitches. So it's really nice because you can reverse all of this stuff. And one more thing I'm just gonna go over. So you've got things like the garter stitch. So this is your basic stitch where you just knit every row. That's what that's gonna look like. That's what this looks like. Your stockinette, which is where you knit and then purl, knit and purl, and it makes it so all the knit stitches are on one side. This is a really cool pattern. It's called a seed or a moss stitch, and you're basically knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and then when you get to the next row, you reverse that. So if you ended on a purl, then you're gonna start, or I'm sorry, if you started on a knit, you're going to start on a purl with the next one and keep going. And it actually gives you this like bubbly texture. We talked about the rib here. This is a knit one, purl one rib. So you can see these V's. There's just one row of those. So that's knit, you're knitting this way. So you knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, etc. And then of course the knit two, purl two. This is my go-to for hats. It's pretty easy. You've got one knit, two purls in there, two knits, two purls, so on and so forth. If you're looking for any patterns, you can always search for ribbed scarves or hat ribbed brim, anything like that. There's also tons of books at the library that you can check out that have lots of patterns,